morning, good evening, good night. Maybe you are up at 2 a.m. And if you are, this is the masterclass for you because we are all on the brink of summer. Depending on where you are, I know I have some friends over on the other side of the world that are bundled up and have snow, but here in the US, we are hitting summer and
I just stopped sharing so they can see.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay.
They can see you.
We are hitting summer, and I know those teachers and counselors and admin, you are getting so close to the end of the school year, and this is the perfect time for you to check out this month's masterclass. We have Onnie Michalsky, and she is a licensed therapist, but she also runs a really cool Facebook group that I have been in for a while called Moms Without Capes. And I know as moms, many of us are moms, that we think that there's some cape on the back of us, that we need to be all and do all. But her Facebook group says, no, you don't, but you can still be okay. And so she's going to talk to us tonight or this morning, wherever you were listening, about getting us some self-care, because we've been talking a lot this month and last month on the importance of our self-care. We've spent a lot of time talking about kids and giving them what they need, but we can't give them what they need unless we get what we need. So I'm going to turn it over and mute myself. And thanks for joining us.
All right, let's get back to sharing the, okay, so can everybody see? Can you see the summer self-care? All right, so let's dive in and we're going to talk all about summer self-care. And like Michelle mentioned, I do have the Moms Without Capes group. That is my company. And we are all about self-discovery, self-care, and self-love. And so this falls, when Michelle approached me about doing this, I was super excited because I am passionate about teaching other women, specifically moms, how to put themselves on their to-do list and how to take care of themselves. So you are in the right place tonight. You're in the right place if you are completely new to self-care, if you're used to doing everything for everyone else and you rarely make the time for yourself, then you are watching this video, and it's a great thing because this is what you need. So you are also in the right place if you want to learn new ways to fill your cup this summer. So I like to use that analogy of filling your cup or putting on your oxygen mask, making sure that you are taking care of yourself, because if you are so busy taking care of everyone else and you don't turn the attention to yourself, every so often you are going to be completely empty. And when you're empty, you will have nothing left to give to all of those that are depending on you. And that leads to burnout real quick. And so self-care is a way to prevent burnout. It's a preventative measure. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about tonight, how you can fill your cup. And then finally, you're in the right place if you struggle with making time for yourself. So many times when I ask moms, do you practice self-care? The number one answer that moms give is that they don't have time. And so right before we hit record here tonight, I was sharing about my course that I created, a time management course, and nobody bought it. So I had one person buy it. And so I started diving deeper into that. Like, do we really not have time for self-care? And I made some discoveries, and it really, it was very eye-opening. The fact that when we say we don't have time for self-care, it really goes a lot deeper than that. And we find that I found that many moms don't have time because they don't think that they matter, right? Like it's that you don't consider yourself worthy of focusing on or consider yourself worthy of making time for. So it really goes to a deeper belief than just saying you don't have time. Because when you were to do a time audit, you'd probably find there's a lot of pockets of time in there that you're spending doing things that you might not consider very important, like aren't a priority. So if you were to take that time and actually consider yourself worthy of focusing on, you would be able to make sure that you are prioritizing yourself each day. And so if you struggle with making time for yourself, we're going to dig a little deeper there tonight and talk about how you can start changing those self-beliefs and making sure that you are putting yourself on your to-do list. So a little bit about myself. I am, like Michelle said, a licensed therapist. I live here in Montana with my husband. We're about to celebrate our 23rd anniversary, and our 6 kids. They range from ages 22, 18 to 15-year-old twins that are about to get their license on this. Well, hopefully they get their license. They're taking their test next week. So we've got Tuesday and Wednesday. They're taking their driver's test. And then I have a 12-year-old daughter and an 8-year-old daughter. So the only boy we have is right in the middle. He's one of the twins. So he's surrounded by girls. He's got 2 older sisters, 2 younger sisters, and a twin sister. So he's outside right now playing volleyball with his 2 younger sisters. But so that is, my background. And then I also started Moms Without Capes 2.5 years ago. And that is where I'm a life and wellness coach. And I work strictly with mothers and moms that are overextended, overwhelmed, on that verge of on the verge of burnout, and are just ready to make changes in their life and create space for themselves. And I help them do that through a variety of different programs and services. And like Michelle mentioned, my Moms Without Capes Facebook group is my biggest way to reach a lot of moms. So that is who I am. So I can't, okay. So let's talk about where we're going to go tonight or this morning or whenever you're watching this. We are going to talk about what exactly is self-care. And then we're going to talk about the benefits, like why is self-care so important and why is it not just like, why it's not optional, why it is absolutely necessary for you to practice self-care every day. Then I'm going to take you through 5 of the main pillars. And these are 5 areas of self-care. And then we're going to apply them to, of course, summer, because it's right around the corner. Maybe where you are, you're getting some higher temperatures and breaking out the shorts. I know even here in Montana, we've been having like 70s. Hopefully it'll start climbing, but right now we're enjoying the 70s degrees. And then at the end, I was planning on having a Q&A discussion, but if you do have any questions, and maybe we'll just have a little conversation with Michelle and Genevieve, but if you do have any questions, I will give my contact information at the end. Michelle, Genevieve, maybe you want to remind me, because I don't think I have a space in my slides for that. But just remind me, and you can reach out to me if you have any questions about this, about anything that we talk about. All right. So hold on. Of course, I hit the wrong button. All right, so there we go. Okay, what is self-care? Self-care is the act of engaging in deliberate activities that support our own health and well-being. So that's like the simplest definition, right? It has to be deliberate, it has to be intentional, and it's going to include the simple things that you think of when you think of self-care, like brushing your teeth, getting a shower, making sure that you are eating, right? These are all things that we do to take care of ourselves at the minimum. But when we're talking about self-care tonight, we're gonna go a step further. And this is especially with moms who are super busy and they have so much on their plate, right? There's so many balls that they're juggling that often they don't even take they might get a shower every other day, or if they're lucky, right? Or being able to ask for help, that's a huge thing. And we'll talk about that in a little bit, but making sure that you are building and using your support system so that you can practice self-care and do it more intentional. Because as we know, if you leave things up to fate, and you're struggling with like perfectionism and people pleasing and these unrealistic expectations, self-care doesn't happen. And so it's super important to be intentional about it and to deal with those underlying issues that may be preventing you from prioritizing your own well-being. Sorry, it's just, okay. What is self-care not? So self-care, and these are some of the myths of self-care, which society feeds us, that you might find, like a lot of us come to like our current place believing certain things about self-care, and that too can keep us from prioritizing ourselves. So self-care is not selfish. In fact, if you go back to that mask analogy, right? When you not practicing self-care is selfish, because if you are not at your best self to be able to take care of all of those around you who depend on you, then you're not, you know, you're not your best self. I guess that doesn't even make sense what I just said. But if you're not your best self, like, then that is selfish. Like, you owe it to your family, to your kids, to your husband, to your friends, to your partner. Like, you owe it to them to be your best self. And so when you're not practicing self-care, that is selfish. So self-care is also not a chore. I often hear moms say, like, when we talk about self-care and we talk about making sure that you are getting time to hear yourself think, right? Like, that's a big self-care act right there. I hear moms say, well, you know, I go grocery shopping by myself. Self-care is not a chore, right? It's not getting out and going to Target by yourself. Like, you're going to Target, maybe to buy toilet paper or whatever. Like, that is not self-care. That's not being intentional about taking care of your own well-being. That's getting out by yourself, but that's not self-care. Self-care is not running errands or doing things that are necessary to run your household. Self-care is not luxurious. So often okay, I don't know if you can see the pictures. Okay. Self-care is not like week-long vacations, taking cruises, long spa days, right? It's not those are pampering. And pampering, sure, that's awesome once in a while. But when we're talking about self-care, we're not talking about those luxurious activities that, sure, they can fill your bucket and they can feel really good. We're talking about the everyday things that you do to take care of yourself, to take care of your, again, if we go back to that definition, take care of your health and well-being. I just went on a momcation last week. 2 weeks ago, I went to Florida on a momcation, and I started doing that last year. So I've been a mom. Our oldest is 22. So 22 years I've been a mom. So it was 21 years that it took me to actually have the guts to go on vacation by myself. It was something like, I think all moms like fantasize about going off and like drinking pina coladas on the beach. And while I didn't drink pina coladas because I actually have been abstaining from alcohol for the past like 2 or 3 months, I did go, and it was amazing. I came back feeling refreshed and recharged. And while I know that that's something that not a lot of moms may want to do, or even, you know, have the means to be doing that, it's something that I had always strived for. And then I finally did it. And it was something that really, you know, being able to really get in touch with what it was that I needed. Like, it was a way to ask myself, like, well, what do I need? What do I feel like doing today? And when I'm in the gist of every day, like when you're in the thick of it every day, it's hard to ask yourself that, because there's so many people that are vying for your attention and you are meeting their needs. And so being able to step back, and maybe it's not on a whole, like I did 6 days, but just every morning or every day, having that space to be like, okay, well, what do I feel like doing? Like, so often we don't even do that. And making sure that you are asking yourself, like, what is it that I like? I've had moms cry to me about that it's been so long since they've done something that they wanted to do, like even read a book or get back in touch with like their art. Like they might have enjoyed art. Like it's been so long since they've done anything that they don't even know what it is that they like to do anymore. They've completely lost themselves under their mom hat. And so making sure that you are intentional about asking yourself, what do I need? And what do I feel? What am I thinking? That's something that we also don't do. Just being able to sit with ourselves and be comfortable with ourselves to be able to ask ourselves what it is that we need. And that was my momcation was like this test of courage. Eating out was so awkward for me, but it really was this like complete exercise in self-discovery that I wouldn't have had otherwise. Self-care is also not expensive, right? It can be if you choose to, if the way that you enjoy, filling your cup, or the way that best fills your cup is like expensive massages or whatever, then it could be expensive, but it does not have to be. There are small ways that we'll get into in a minute that you can fill your cup that are free, that you don't even have to go anywhere. You don't have to travel anywhere. Some self-care can even be done with other people. Like it doesn't have to be by yourself. So the summer's coming up, kids are coming home out of school, you, by practicing self-care, you will be showing your kids an amazing example of what it means to take care of your health and your well-being. And self-care is not optional. Like I mentioned before, it is something that is absolutely necessary in order for you to be at your best. And then self-care is also not super time consuming. Again, it can be if you choose to do that, but I'm going to share with you today some ways that you can fill your cup that are short and sweet. So if you only have 5 minutes, we're going to talk about some ways that you can practice self-care and fill your cup with just a short amount of time. So before we dive into the 5 pillars, I just want to share with you some of the benefits of self-care. So the number one benefit is that you improve your mental health. Now, as a mental health therapist, this is huge. So I don't just talk about self-care with my coaching clients. I also talk a lot about self-care with my counseling clients. When we are working with erase what I just said. Okay. When we're talking about self-care, when we're talking about ways to improve your mental health, self-care is something that always comes up. So it also helps improve your mood. Just think, like if you're making time for yourself to be able to fill your cup, it's a natural consequence that you're going to feel better. You're going to be happier. It also decreases your risk for some mental health disorders, depression, anxiety, when you are in touch with your own feelings, your thoughts. So my counseling, when I'm wearing my counseling hat, I practice under the modality of cognitive behavioral therapy. And what that is it's how your thoughts and your emotions and your behaviors are all intertwined, and they're all stemming from the beliefs that you hold. And so with self-care, right, you are making sure that you are getting in touch, you're changing those thoughts that you're having, you're changing the self-beliefs. Remember in the beginning when I shared about when moms say that they don't have time for self-care, it's usually it's a deeper belief than that needs to change. Well, my cognitive behavioral therapy background, I use a lot of the strategies in my coaching because I help clients shift those beliefs so that they believe that they are worthy of prioritizing. And when you believe that you are worthy of prioritizing, actually a natural extension is that you start taking better care of yourself. You start being more intentional about making that time. So I also mentioned, a benefit of self-care is that being that role model for your kids. It also helps you be more productive, which is funny is when you say like, oh, I don't have time for self-care because you have so much other stuff going on. When you take the time to do things for yourself, to take care of your health and well-being, because you become your better self, you actually become more productive. You're able to get more done. And then you're able to look at things differently. You're able to shift that perspective and see things that you may have deemed as important may not be as important as you once thought. It also helps you be a better parent. So if you're viewing this and you're a mom, know that practicing self-care will help you be more patient, will help you be calmer, will help you be more in touch with who you are, and therefore you bring more to the table. It'll give you more energy. It'll make you feel less tired. And I talked about how it's a preventative, it's a way to prevent burnout. When you're burned out, you're exhausted, right? You are ready to just like throw in the hat. So if you are proactive and you are taking good care of yourself, you're going to combat those symptoms of burnout. It helps to boost your immune system and your health. It also helps to improve your relationships. There's lots of benefits. I had to scroll up on my notes section. It helps to improve your relationships with your partner, with your kids, with friends, right? Maybe you don't even have friends right now. Maybe it's been so long, like you're so consumed with raising your family or with work that it's hard for you to socialize. And the fifth pillar of self-care is actually social self-care. And we'll dive into that in a little bit. So it also reinforces the beliefs of adequacy. When you have that belief that you're not worthy of focusing on, you also may hold that belief of not being enough, which for many of my moms who struggle with, overscheduling themselves, that belief is strong. They do more because they have that belief that they're not enough. And that's where they get overextended and overscheduled and feel like they need to do all of the things. So when you start practicing self-care, you start shifting that belief because you're taking action that says, otherwise. It says that you are adequate. It says that you are enough. And then it also, besides decreasing the risk of mental health disorders, self-care also helps to decrease the risk of physical, like diseases and illnesses as well. So what happens when you don't practice self-care regularly? Well, it's kind of just the inverse of all that we just talked about, all of those benefits. You end up feeling stressed and overwhelmed. You could experience some physical elements such as headaches, increased illnesses, sicknesses, low energy, fatigue, irritability, right? Self-care, we already said it improves your mood. When you don't practice self-care, you end up feeling like irritable and grouchy. You also increase your risk of mental health and physical health, mental health disorders and physical health diseases. And it's a quick road to burnout when you don't practice self-care. So I do want to point out that self-care looks different for everyone. It's not a one-size-fits-all kind of thing. That's why, when we hear about self-care and we hear about the massages and bubble baths, we don't even have a bathtub in my house right now. It's under construction. So we don't even have that. So bubble baths, it's not a self-care thing for me. Massages, I am way too ticklish and I just can't stand getting like pedicures because of my ticklish feet. So for me, like the massages and bubble baths, that's not self-care for me. That's more of massages are more of a torture for me. So you just need to keep that open mind. And if it's been so long since you put yourself on your to-do list, you want to start by having that open mind and curiosity and trying to figure out what it is that fills your cup. What is it that you enjoy? And one of the things that helps is to get back in touch with what did you used to enjoy when you were a kid? And was there a creative pursuit? Did you like drawing? Did you like writing stories? Did you play an instrument maybe when you were young? What is it that when you are doing it or when you used to do it, that you would get into that flow state where time would pass by and you had no idea, like what are some of those ideas. So you might want to start with like a brainstorming session to start coming up with those ideas of ways that will fill your cup. And I'm going to give you some ideas as well tonight. And as you're listening to them, take some notes, write down, make sure like that you are being proactive just tonight and seeing what it is that might fill your cup. So I have a kid coming in. Okay. Hold on, I gotta find the headphones. Here you go. Here you go. Okay. Okay, self-care also changes in different seasons of your life. So what may qualify as self-care, or what you find, fills your cup when you are, without kids, before you have kids, is going to be look completely different than what it looks like when you have teenagers, right? Like how you practice self-care, what you are in the mood for, what you find as recharging or refreshing is going to look different in the various seasons of your life. And one of the things is, just be patient with yourself, be kind. That's something that doesn't change, is when you start practicing self-compassion and start treating yourself, like forgiving yourself, or talking to yourself kindly. Those are things that are not going to change. And those are all ways to practice self-care that can carry you throughout life. And so it is super important to start working on that internal dialogue and what it is that you're telling yourself, because that's going to color your self-care, and that's going to color, your mood, everything throughout your whole life when you start treating yourself and talking to yourself with kindness. So we are going to walk through the 5 pillars of self-care, and these are the 5 main areas of well-being. And as we go through this, we're going to, I'm going to give you some ideas of ways that you can take care of the various areas of your life. And a challenge for you would be to focus on all 5 of these each day. Now that's going to be, if you are completely new to self-care, that's going to be a super hard challenge. So you might want to just start with a single, like one area, and spend 10 minutes. You can give yourself 10 minutes. I know most of you I've never even met before, but I know that there is 10 minutes in your day that you can find to focus on just one of these areas if you are completely new to self-care and you're not used to making time for yourself. So physical self-care is taking care of your body. Emotional self-care, I bundle that with mental self-care as well, and that's taking care of your emotional self and your mental health. Your spiritual self-care is taking care of your soul. Intellectual self-care is taking care of your mind. Now that's different than mental health. Mental health is really dealing with like your emotions and your thoughts, where intellectual self-care is more stimulating your mind and learning new things. And then finally, the social self-care, and that is taking care of your relationships. So our first pillar is physical self-care. And physical self-care, again, is taking care of your body. And these are some of the things that, like, when you think of self-care, these are likely some of the things that may come to mind when you think of physical self-care. When you think of self-care, right? Like taking care of your teeth, like I said in the beginning, brushing your teeth. That's going to be part of, your dental health. And moving your body, making sure that you're getting out and exercising. Now, in the summer, it looks different than in the winter because you can get outside, right? It's important to, and we'll talk about this in the spiritual self-care because that's getting outside and connecting with the universe and feeding your soul. But when you are moving your body, when you are getting outside, it's important to just the sun itself, right? Can help boost our vitamin D. It can help boost our serotonin. Those feel good chemicals can get them going. And seasonal affective disorder, right? That's a depression. That's a depressive disorder that can happen in the winter because we don't have as much sunlight. Our days are short and it can really set in. And so making sure that you're taking advantage of the summer and getting out, and while you're going to protect yourself with sunscreen and all of that, just make sure that you are getting outside and that you're moving your body. You can go take some hikes, you can go camping, you can take, and like I said, you don't have to do self-care alone. Go out for a hike, take your kids for a picnic to a state park and get outside. When you're at the beach, if you do go to the beach, go and take a walk instead of just laying there, like getting your tan. Get up, go look for seashells, get down in the sand, make a sand castle, and drizzle castles, dig for sand crabs, whatever, is making sure that you are getting your body in motion. Walking, swimming, yoga class, doing some kind of form of exercise. A lot of yoga classes actually take to the park in the summertime, or when I was just down in Florida, they would have yoga at sunrise and it would be right on the beach. I didn't do it because I'm not somebody who does, like, I've tried yoga before, but it's just not my thing. But just, looking for those opportunities that will help you move your body, making sure that you are prioritizing your sleep, because that is a part of physical self-care, is sleep. And in the summer, it's really tempting because of the long days. It's really tempting to stay up late. And if you aren't working or if you have off from work, sleeping in, but it's very important to keep a sleep schedule. And that's going to really impact your mental and your physical health, making sure that you're sticking to a consistent sleep schedule. So try to avoid the temptation, every once in a while, it's fine, but avoid the temptation of completely altering your sleep schedule, even on the weekends or come summer, making sure that you are getting the adequate amount of sleep that your body needs, because that's going to really impact your overall health and how you feel the next day. So avoid the temptation. Let me see, I got lots of making sure that you're hydrated. That's another thing that you have to be concerned about, especially in the summer when you're outside and you are in the sun and, you might be sweating more and losing more body fluids. You want to make sure that you are staying hydrated. Now I've seen on Amazon, they sell like water jugs that actually mark out how much you drink each day. And that's a fun way to keep track of how much you're drinking. Let me think of other ways that you can I'm going to open it up. Michelle, Genevieve, I think Shelley, are you here too? I see there's 4. What are some ways that, if you want to even say it in the chat, what are some ways that you are thinking of that you can practice physical self-care?
So I was writing, I have the list, and as you were talking, just kind of jotting some things down as they come to my mind. I had food. So
okay.
I know, yes. Some people have chocolate. I mean, come on. Chocolate for so many people is self-care. It has stuff in it. It definitely has healing properties to it. But for me, my go-to, I love comfort food and stuff, but when I eat something healthy, it makes me feel really good. So like when I'm feeling like, sometimes, yes, I crave French fries and chocolate, but a lot of times it's like, I will go to my favorite cafe and get like a really good salad. And that makes me feel good. So yeah, I wrote down food, but I also wrote down shower, because I do my best thinking in a shower or a bath.
Right.
And then I also wrote down walk, but I had written down water as well, because I know I need to do that. So yeah, mine kind of centered around food.
Yeah, no, I'm glad that you said that. I don't know why I didn't write that down, Michelle, because that's a huge thing too. Like what we put in, like we are what we eat, like what we put into our body is going to change the way we feel. And so definitely that is a way to take care of our body is, making sure that we're getting the fruits and vegetables and in the summer, like the variety is so much greater. Like visiting your farmer's market. And again, being curious, like having that open mind to try new fruits or new vegetables and things that are in season and making sure that you're giving yourself what your body needs. So yeah, that's a huge one. So emotional self-care. So emotional self-care is taking care of your emotional and mental health. And your emotions, so often we don't take the time to ask ourselves what you feel, or everything is so loud. Like I mentioned, I have 6 kids, so I have 4 at home, and it's not very often that, it's quite, now that they're getting teenagers, it does get a lot quieter. But when they were younger, there wasn't a spare minute to like actually hear my thoughts. And I was constantly struggling with mom brain, feeling like I was being pulled in many different directions. And in fact, nowadays, when I feel that, I check in with myself and I'm like, what do I need? Like, do I need to go and find somewhere like just to be quiet, to be able to, or do I need to journal? Do I need to get in touch with what am I feeling right now? And one of the things that I found was helpful is to, and I know many of you are teachers, so you're probably familiar with the feelings chart, and printing that out or just Googling like a list of feeling words, sometimes just putting a name to how you're feeling, because we tend to hang on to just a handful of emotions like angry, sad, happy, and really diving in and putting that name to how you're feeling can do wonders. Like that can really be beneficial when you are feeling when you're feeling stressed out or when you're feeling overwhelmed, making sure that you are checking in with yourself and asking yourself, okay, well, what am I feeling? And because our feelings are coming from the thoughts that you're having, when you start identifying how it is you're feeling, you can start getting in touch with what thoughts are creating that feeling for me, what thoughts are coming up. And then at that point you can start challenging those thoughts. So I just want to jump back to the physical, because I don't know if the chat's going to show up in the recording, but Rochelle, she volunteered some ideas as well. So back to the physical, it was drinking water, getting out and gardening again, like you can, tie that in with the actual act of gardening, but then also growing some produce, which you can eat and nourish yourself. Getting together with friends and family, eating more fruit, drinking cacao. I think that's how you say it. I hear it's very good for you, gives you energy, has antioxidants, and doesn't have caffeine like coffee does. She doesn't drink coffee anyway, and no sugar and stuff that has chocolate, that chocolate has, so it'll be like my morning coffee. Okay. So
I think also kind of setting that as like a morning routine for yourself. So whether it's tea or coffee or cacao or journaling or, just kind of giving yourself a routine in that physical space, or,
yes.
Every day while the kids are at school, or before you come home, or right when you come home, taking a walk, or, something where it's consistent, because I think consistency and routine kind of helps keep the self-care active.
Yes, absolutely, Genevieve. I'm glad that you brought that up. Attaching it to things that you've already do, like things that are already a habit for you, it can help you just add something on, like, okay, when I wake up, I'm going to have my coffee. And if that's something you do anyway, like, okay, after I have my coffee, I'm going to go outside and I'm going to do some breathing on my back deck. Like, so that like, when I do this, then I'm going to do this. And then it becomes that habit and becomes more consistent when you start attaching it to those habits you already have. Like it's called habit stacking. So yeah, making it part of your routine will help you actually do it each day. So yes. So speaking of the breathing, like how many times have you gotten to the end of the day and you haven't even taken a breath? Like you haven't even like taken like a deep, like where you bring in a lot of oxygen and it's like that life-giving breath. But making that part of something that you do every day, and whether it be when you wake up in the morning, or you go to bed, like doing it, I say waking up or going to bed, because that's a lot. I call them my bookends, because usually during the day, it gets really busy and maybe, your day-to-day might look different throughout the summer, but your bookends, you can pretty much count on like them looking similar. And so using those bookends to start some of these self-care habits and making it part of your routine. Practicing gratitude, whether you keep a gratitude list and you can post it by your medicine cabinet and add to it each day. You can make a journal. You can, make it a habit that you actually, when you swing your feet out of bed, do like 2 or 3 breaths, like really deep breaths, and say thank you for, and name something. Maybe you want to do something with your kids and do like a high-low at dinner time and practice gratitude that way. But it really gets you thinking like, okay, well, what was really good about my day? What's really good about my life right now? Because we have a negativity bias that's like this, like the psychological thing is like, we have this negativity bias that we are drawn to negative things because it kept us safe when we were being chased by saber-toothed tigers, like evolutionary. We are drawn to like the negative because it's for our survival. And so we have to work extra hard to focus on the positive. But when you make it a practice, when you make it a habit to start paying attention and start focusing on the things that are good, it becomes easier. Using your vacation time. If you are, working outside the home and you get certain days of vacation, make sure that you're using them. If you're working through the summer, maybe you want to take a day here or there. Just make sure that you're not just stocking them up, because they're given to you for a reason. Like nowadays, it's becoming less of a stigma to take a mental health day. Like it's become an actual thing. So make sure that you are doing it, because that is for your mental health. Whether you just take a staycation, whether you stay in bed, whether you decide like, okay, I'm going to declutter, because decluttering can actually be a form of self-care. Because if you feel like it's the clutter all around you is draining you, then it's important that you take care of your environment so that you feel better. During the summer, making sure if you're in counseling, don't stop it for the summer. Like just because it's a different season, just because we're coming to a different season, kids are going to be home, be sure that you're continuing any kind of like mental health treatment, any kind of like physical health treatment. If you're under like doctor's orders, don't just blow off doctor's appointments for the summer. Make sure that you're continuing to take care of your health. Journaling is a great way to practice emotional and mental self-care. If you're new to journaling, just set a timer, 5-10 minutes. If you need help, I actually have a list of prompts that I can send you of ways to like get in touch with your feelings and do some self-exploration, self-discovery to be able to get in touch with yourself again. And journaling, putting pen to paper has so many benefits. It helps you see things from a different perspective because you're getting all of the mumble jumble out of your mind and you're putting it in black and white, and it brings clarity to all of the stuff that's going on in your mind. When you're mulling over things and you are ruminating, it's no good. So it helps to get it out, put it on paper, read it, see it with your eyes, read it in your mind. Like it's bringing in more of the senses, and it's helping sort out and bring clarity to what's inside your mind. And when it's inside, it's probably not making much sense. So no matter how much you think about it. All right. Every time I have like every 5th slide, it makes me like find the arrow. So Okay, spiritual self-care. No, spiritual self-care. Okay, this is self-care for the soul. And this is not religion, like a certain religion specific kind of self-care. This is really just recharging and refueling your soul, getting in touch with the wider universe, which means that, going outside is a great spiritual practice where you are out in nature, whether it be you go to the mountains, you go to the beach, you go to your backyard, you get in touch with the whole universe. You could do some cloud watching, lay on your trampoline if you have a trampoline, or not even better, just lay in the grass. And you can do some stargazing, some cloud watching, just some breathing, just sitting outside and doing some meditation, meditating by a campfire, right? Take advantage of the summer and get outside, have a campfire. And again, I mentioned that yoga, because yoga is a spiritual practice, and maybe you want to do that outside. Connecting with nature, taking a picnic to the park instead of eating at your kitchen table, just going outside. And again, self-care can be done with kids or without. So you can bundle up the kids, say, let's go to the park, and you can take your meal outside. Going to a lake or a wooded area, go hiking, try some new trails. Walking in the early morning could be definitely a spiritual practice for many people, like especially with the birds chirping, and there's just some like newness that comes with the morning. And so just making sure that you're getting out. Sitting on your porch at night can be a spiritual practice. I wrote down in my notes declutter, but we already talked about how decluttering can be a practice. How about, and I should have turned the conversation over for emotional. So let's mental health and spiritual health. Any ideas of ways that you can just unmic yourself or unmute yourself? Anything that came up for you?
So something that I try and, because I'm a social and emotional coordinator at the school that I work at. And so we talk a lot about emotions and coping strategies. And so I think what you said earlier, as far as naming your emotion, is really important. And, I work with elementary students. So starting at, 6 years old, we're teaching this concept. But I think also helping them, helping the students and helping ourselves, make a list of coping strategies for those different emotions. So when I'm feeling stressed, what are 3 to 5 things that can help me de-stress? Or if I'm feeling angry, what are 3 to 5 things? Or sad, so that way we have kind of like this immediate toolkit that we can refer to when we're recognizing the emotion starting. And then we don't have to sit in the emotion for too long. We know kind of how to navigate ourselves through that, or what are the support systems, who can I go to for help or support in those areas, in those emotional states as well. I think that that's helpful. And whether it's making a chart or a list or having it on your phone, just until you get kind of more in the habit or routine or experience of it, having kind of a notes or clip notes,
Something
or
to refer to, like a reference.
Exactly, a reference sheet to help build the skills in those areas.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. And for adults too, like not just kids, but like adults too, like how often have we likely have never done that? Like actually you're done, like, when I'm feeling angry, what can help me? What, who can I talk to? What can I do to self-soothe so that the anger doesn't escalate? But I mean, a lot of times we go through, because those emotions are stemming from the thoughts that are coming from the beliefs that have been so deeply ingrained, we often don't even stop to think like, okay, to identify what is the thought that's fueling that, and then you can go and you can challenge that. But they're based on these beliefs that they're automatic. The thoughts are automatic,
Yeah.
And so taking that time to reflect and then having that toolbox. You're
Yeah.
like, okay, well, when I'm feeling this, when I'm feeling lonely,
Mhm.
what is it what will help me?
Exactly. And also, I think in some instances, it might need an unlearning of the stigma that is often associated with quote unquote negative emotions, right? So I'm not supposed to be angry. I'm not supposed to be sad. I'm not supposed to be, because those are signs of weakness or, whatever it might be. And especially from a masculine perspective, like sadness is not an acceptable emotion or things like that. So I do think it does kind of help in that processing of like, okay, and I always I tell my students, emotions are not good or bad. We don't label them as good or bad. They just are. They're part of what makes our experience, our life experience richer, if anything, and
Yes.
so sometimes, like the flavors of life, sometimes things are going to be spicy, sometimes they're going to be bland, sometimes they're going to be sour, sometimes they're going to be sweet, so are our emotions. So there's not good or bad, but it's just understanding the strategies and skills to help navigate during those different experiences that we're having.
Yes, I love that. So Shelly said that she sits in her yard and at the park and down at the lake often during the summer. Yeah, taking advantage of the summer weather and getting down and getting, outside and back with nature. Because I don't know about you, but in the winter, I hibernate. I tend to hibernate in these cold temperatures. I hate driving in the snow. It's just a mess. I'm not in the right state right now. So how about spiritual self-care? Any ideas or anything that came up for you with that?
So I do that already. That is when you said like morning routine, that is part of my morning routine, just reading my devotional, being in prayer. And sometimes it's just for a couple of minutes before my kids wake up. But I think as I'm taking notes and things, I need to make it a practice, especially moving into the summer, to say, I have to wake up by this time, because if I just lay there and I miss that window, I'll say, oh, my kids go off to school or whatever, before I start my day, I'm going to fit that in. And then I never do. So
Right.
it's like, oh, well, it'll wait. It can wait till 9 o'clock. My kids will be gone before I have this meeting at 9:30. I'll fit it in there. And it's not about fitting it in. It's about prioritizing that time and saying like, oh, I'll squeeze it in. No, we can't squeeze it in. It has to be, that's, when you're making your list, your to-do list, that has to be the first thing,
Yes.
and then everything else you fit in.
Right.
So yeah, that's my morning. And so yeah, my oldest leaves about 7 o'clock in the morning, and that's, I kind of wake up about that time, and then, my other kids don't wake up till maybe 7:30, 7:45, and that's my time that if I'm up, I can do it. And it happens maybe 75% of the time.
Yeah.
Some weeks,
Yeah, the
maybe
80-20 rule, the 80-20 rule.
80-20, yeah. If I could get up to 80, that would be good. But yeah, because I won't do it. I'll forget, and then it'll be in the afternoon, and I'm like, shh, I forgot. So yeah, and I need to do that. But I also wrote down in that morning routine, stretches, the deep breaths, the gratitude. I think that all kind of, drinking water first thing in the morning too. I used to be, my husband wants me to get back into it. I was a part of a worldwide a health and wellness program. And so I was a coach, and, this fits very well into it, because part of it is well-being practices. But you do these well-being practices in the morning that could also be drinking water, and it can combine, like, you can combine your physical, emotional, and spiritual in the morning, just in your first, 10 minutes. You're stretching, you're taking some water in, you're doing some quiet time, some devotional time, some prayer time, whatever that looks like. But doing it all in the morning to kind of set your mind right. But yeah, it's weird. Like, I wrote down deep breaths. I'm like, why don't I, because I do feel better when I take a nice couple of deep breaths. Why don't we start our morning like that? So that's my new thing. I will do that. That's my plan. That's my plan.
And you raised a good point about trying to squeeze it in. Like, as opposed to like when it was, I'll find time for that. Like, you're never going to find time. You have to make the time, and doing it first thing in the morning is perfect, because then you do it and then you can go back about your day. And what I know, I notice when I don't do it, like when I do stay in bed, or like if I was up late the night before and I end up sleeping and then I don't get my time, like I wake up with my kids, I'm like, by 2 or 3 o'clock, I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm grouchy. And then it hits me. Yeah, that's because I didn't get that time in the morning to breathe. Like, I didn't get that time to do what I need to do to take care of myself first. It was like hitting from 0 to 100, not having that space to ease into the day and fill, like the proverbial, like fill my cup first. And so
I think for the teachers that are watching too, I had this mental picture. I used to work with children with autism, and we have these cards, they're called PEX cards, and they are picture cues to let kids know what to do. Instead of saying, apple, we have a picture of an apple, but we also have emotion cards too, the different outlines of faces. I could totally see this working like on a keychain, going, I got to grab my keychain in the morning. Oops, I need to make sure that I do it. And I could totally see that being something that that would be effective, because I would be the one to say, oh shoot, I forgot to breathe. I forgot to drink my water. I forgot to stretch or whatever. But having these cards or something would be a good mental kind of like, next to my bed. I got posted on my wall. Like, these are the things you need to do every morning. Go into the bathroom, and in the bathroom, this is, have these cards, because you had said something about a journal or a gratitude thing, like, in your mirror or something. But yeah,
I should come up with an acronym for these.
Yeah. But you should come up with the cards though too.
I
The cards would be
yeah,
great. Print these out and post them here. Post them on your refrigerator. Post them in your bathroom. Post them beside your bed, so you're constantly remembering this is what you're supposed to do. So for the teachers, yes, we need that.
Your pocket chart.
My chart can find it. That would be awesome. Oh my gosh. I could totally
self-care pocket chart.
I would have it in my bedroom going, okay, I'm going to put my card in there. I did this. I drank the water.
Like red for no and green for yes. Like,
yes.
You can like change the color, be like, yep, I did that today. Yeah. You know how like when you walk out the door, for me, I'm always like phone, wallet, keys, kind of like that self-checklist. So it could be, we could make like a mantra for that, like breathe, water, stretch, or something like that.
Right beside your light switch in your bedroom. Like, oh, go back to bed if you forgot to breathe.
You can't cross this threshold of your door until you've done these 3 things.
Right.
I think the way my mind works, and maybe it's a mom brain, maybe it's a teacher mind brain, maybe it's both, but I feel like, yes, all these things are going to help us with self-care and help us overall feel better. But if there's like a reward at the end, that would be great. Like, I'm going to do something for myself at the end of the week because I did all of these, all of these tasks or all these things that I'm supposed to do. And yes, like I said, it's going to make you feel better anyway. But if there's some kind of concrete reward or whatever that you're going to do, for your
token economy. So I actually have a tracker that it's at momswithoutcapes.com/summer, and it's specifically for summer self-care, and it allows you to track up to 5 practices. Because if you're new to self-care, like, and you're like, Michelle, you mentioned that you already do some of the things, but like if you're new to it, you only want to start with like give yourself some grace and start with one thing, and you can give yourself a reward. Like, if you make it personal, make it something that fits the task. But like, if you decide, okay, I'm going to just make it a goal to drink water each morning, and you track it, and after 5 times or whatever you tell yourself that you're going to do, what can you reward yourself with? And that might be like, hey, asking your husband if he'll watch the kids on Saturday morning so that you can go, you maybe, I said about keeping your consistent sleep schedule, but like maybe sleeping in would be a reward, or like maybe treating yourself to, a special color yarn, like if you're into crocheting, or like, doing
Cake.
something like that you've been eyeing up. And
Cake or chocolate. Cake or chocolate. That would be
There
like,
you go.
I ate really well. I drank my water. Here is my
Your
cake.
chocolate. Yeah.
Adults are just like kids. That's the same incentive our kids. Your kids are getting strawberry shortcake later, right? So,
Yeah, exactly. Priming them with food. Yeah. I know it's promoting eating disorders and all that bad stuff, but it's all good. Gotta do what you gotta do. So, okay, so our next one is the intellectual. And so intellectual is all about stimulating your mind. So this means like learning new skills, and it could be reading. And because the majority of the people that I'm assuming are watching this video are teachers, you probably like reading. So making sure that you don't stop during summer, take advantage of the summer months, and grabbing a book, getting back to, my thing is I haven't read fiction in a while. And I've been like a lot into like personal development and psychology and self-help and all this. I've been reading a lot of those books and business books because I started my business. So I have decided that this summer I want to get back into fiction. One of my favorite authors is Jodi Picoult. So I picked up a book the other day at the library and I started getting back into it. But making sure that you are doing things that you enjoy, and that, again, keeping that curiosity. And maybe this means maybe you want to join a book group, like join a book club for the summer, learning a new game or new skills. Nowadays, it's super easy. You got Skillshare or Udemy. Like there's lots of things online, YouTube even, that you can learn languages, you can learn skills, you can learn musical instruments, you can learn, virtually anything on YouTube, but, anything that you would like to, that you're interested in, try it. I encourage you to try it, and make sure like doing puzzles is a great thing, whether it's like doing, what's the Wordle's the new, like the big in thing, or learning chess, or playing a new card game, learning a foreign language, whatever it is that you are interested in, or that you might be interested in, or that you used to be interested in. Maybe if you're used to be into art. So Rochelle, she's on, and I know that she actually majored in art in college, and she has actually started breaking that back out again and doing some art, maybe coloring, finding some creative outlets, and making sure that you are engaging in personal development, furthering your intellect really is what intellectual self-care is about. So what are some ideas that, okay, so Rochelle just said read. She's going to sign up for the adult reading program this summer. So yeah, using your library, that's a great resource that I know many people aren't really attuned to, is what's going on in your library. They're a great resource, and so many programs and different things that are free and open to the public. So take advantage of the summer. That's not just for kids. There's lots of adult things going on. So she also said, my daughter's starting flute this summer for middle school band next school year, that she played flute and she has her flute still. So she wants to brush up on her skills so that she can play with her.
I have to jump in for that one because I saw that she said that. That is so funny because I played violin growing up, and my daughter 2 years ago, she decided to do violin at school, and I'm like, okay, so they rent them here. We got them for free when I was a kid. So we rented them, and I said, you know what, I'll just rent one for myself too. And so for the longest time, it was like collecting dust, and, I would break it out every once in a while, but then somebody was offering a free one on one of my buy nothing groups or whatever. I'm like, I don't need to pay for this. Let me just get one. and she was so excited. And so it's like, so I'm doing the same thing. I'm like, and I didn't think about, like, when you were listing everything, playing an instrument, I didn't think of that as intellectual. I guess I was thinking more like reading, which
Mhm.
I read cookbooks. I don't read. I was a reading teacher for a while. I don't like to read. It bothers my mind. I like to read to my daughter, but like, but I was thinking about that. And so, yeah, when she said that, I'm like, yeah, that could definitely be it. But what I was thinking about is, and I think I kind of know the answer, but maybe it really depends, is that if you are somebody who's in business, or even teaching, although I know a lot of teachers have like their side hustle in the summertime. If you are learning a new skill, or if you're learning something for your job, I mean, that can kind of bridge to be self-care, but it also could be a chore as well. Like if you feel like you have to learn something new, but if there's an aspect of your job that really is interesting to you, that you're not required, maybe it's that requirement type piece, that if you don't have that requirement piece and you want to learn something new in your job, or do something on the side that makes you, because there are jobs out there, especially with teachers, there are things that we have to do and things that could be bonuses. And I think if there's an avenue that you want to explore because you're interested in it, not that your principal is requiring you to do that, that could be an intellectual thing too, because it could be bridging on your passions.
Yes.
But yeah, once you say your boss tells you you need to learn how to do this, then it's not going to be
becomes a chore. No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
It becomes that requirement, and it's like it kind of puts that spin on it, where it's like, is it really recharging you?
Yeah.
I think a requirement is that it's like an intrinsic motivation, like a personal area of interest.
Yeah.
Right.
So there's a book called The 5 a.m. Club. And in it, they have, he talks about this, Robin Sharma, I think is the author, but it's the 20-20-20 formula. So it's basically like 20 minutes of movement, 20 minutes of reflection, and 20 minutes of growth. And so it kind of hits on these different aspects as far as like the physical, the emotional, the spiritual, and the intellectual. And it's just a formula or a recipe where each day you start your day with just 20 minutes, and again, so when people are feeling busy and overwhelmed, now it is titled the 5 a.m. Club, I think intentionally, because it kind of, in the title says you have to wake up early, especially if you have a very busy life. But it does really help with grounding and with clarity and with intention and goal setting and things like that as well, moving forward. And especially if you're an entrepreneur or busy person, or it's opportunities for brain dumps and reflection in ways to move and grow forward. And that could be, I guess, not just with entrepreneurs and business, but even if you're wanting for personal growth and development, where you're like, okay, where can I make improvements, or what's going on, or you're just kind of lost in your thoughts. This is another helpful resource or way to retrain your brain to have more of a set routine in those areas.
And I was thinking of Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod. That's another book that's the same thing, like the 5 a.m. Club. But when Michelle was talking about the cards, having the cards, he actually has an acronym, and it's called the Life Savers. And it's the Savers stands for silence, affirmations, visualization, exercise, reading, and scribing, or like writing. And so it's just an easy way. And he talks about like, spending time, and it could be easy as 6 minutes, like doing 1 minute each of those 6 things. But like, of course, if he want, the whole idea is like, just to be able to have that guide of that framework of what to do. And he studied like the most successful people, and that was what he found was those 6 activities were what they all had in common that they do as part of their morning routine. Yeah, I saw that 5 a.m. club in the new releases in my library when I was getting my when I was getting my Journey to Cult book. It's like like I wanted to. My goal was fiction, so I put my blinders on and stayed clear of it. So finally, the last one is social self-care, and this is where you are taking care of your relationships. In the summer, we seem to have more opportunities, or at least I think we can make more opportunities for social self-care, because especially if you're a teacher and you do have that extra time in the summer that you might have otherwise been spending at work. Although, Michelle, you did mention that a lot have the side hustles. I already am getting messages from my kids' teachers about like tutoring that they do, and like filling the summer up with other money-making opportunities. But volunteering is a great way to practice social self-care, because you are getting out, and usually you're volunteering at somewhere that you are passionate about, or somewhere that a cause, something that you care about. And so that can definitely be an activity that refuels you and recharges you. Having barbecues, and great thing to do like in the summer, just get-togethers with neighbors, friends, even like extended family, taking some trips together, vacations, road trips, having a girls' trip, joining sports teams if you're into sports, or you want to try like co-ed volleyball, or doing some kind of softball, or any kind of sports that will get you out. My kids are into tennis right now, so we've been playing tennis. But joining a team or a club or a social gathering is a great way to be social and to meet new people. And even introverts, might be a little bit out of comfort zone, but investing in your relationships is so important. That's how we grow. We're humans, and we are social beings, and we're meant to be social. Just social self-care is just all about, connecting with others. And if you do have kids, a lot of times we make friends by default with our kids' parents, so take advantage of that. Arrange play dates for your kids and have that mom time, like to meet other moms. Don't just drop your kids off at birthday parties. Stay and socialize a little bit. Start up maybe like weekly get-togethers with friends, getting in touch with older friends, or like not older friends, but like old friends, friends that maybe you haven't seen lately, maybe Facebook friends that you haven't seen in person. I don't know where everyone is, but like with COVID and everything, I know it's still a thing. So doing like what you feel safe with, but even writing letters or emails or texts or video messaging or video calls, like finding ways to just connect with other people. There's lots of opportunities online as well. Plug in for the Moms Without Capes for Facebook groups, a great way to be part of a community. And so just looking at like meetups. I know like a lot of towns, like you might have some mom groups or some interest groups, like the book club, or maybe a knitting circle, or different kinds of groups that you would be able to pursue your passion along with being social. So just to keep in mind for the summer, like just get outside, take advantage of the nice weather, make sure that you are staying hydrated, staying protected with sunscreen, cooling off as needed, asking for help, which is something that many moms struggle with, especially like the moms my super moms. We think that we can do it all ourselves. And so making sure that you are using your support system, identifying who it is that can help you with what, and then learning how to actually ask for help. That's a whole skill in itself, is learning how to ask for help. And as I mentioned in the beginning, treating yourself with self-compassion is a must, right? That's a huge part of self-care. And before, I know we're running out of time. I didn't even know if I was going to last the whole hour, but here we are running out of time. So I mentioned that social self-care, the summer self-care tracker. It's at momswithoutcapes.com/summer. And then we didn't get a chance to discuss social self-care. So did anything come up for you with that?
I think I have a pretty good list, but I was just going to say, don't dismiss social media, Facebook Messenger, texting, like you had said, if you're a part of impactful teachers groups, our impactful teachers group, or the Moms Without Capes group, there's a lot of opportunities to just to connect with people. I know sometimes some people will take it off of the Facebook group and say, hey, let's talk in Messenger. So yeah, I mean, it doesn't replace the in-person, but I think over the last couple of years, we're kind of used to that. So I've even done Facebook Messenger video calls, like on a whim, or we'll say, hey, do you want to just jump on Zoom? We've done family connections, on Zoom during COVID. So I think there's a lot more than just face to face if you can't do it. So I kind of wrote down, what if every day, or if a couple times a week you reached out to somebody just to check on a friend, that you may have not have talked to, in a while. So, and I just did that today. So
Yeah, you can check that off.
That's done. Yeah.
So yeah, definitely, don't discount the social media. You're right. Like, and you can make connections. And, again, I think we didn't hit record yet for this, but we were talking about, the groups. And there's so many amazing communities out there. But if you find yourself like just overwhelmed by how many groups you are, like being bombarded by social media, like, remember, you are in control of that. You can unfollow, you can purge, you can choose where you want to be and in what communities you want to really dig into, and be more proactive, and don't just sit there mindlessly. Like, being more mindful of your behaviors and how they're affecting you. And then
I think
make change.
I think too, and I learned this before, that I practiced it a few times, but if you need that week, or if you need that month, or that this summer in particular, to just turn off a lot of social media that is clutter, you can, for those that don't know, maybe, you don't have to unfriend somebody and get rid of them. You can unfollow them. And I think you can even unfollow for like 30 days or something. Is there I think there's so you could do that. You can go through your social media, go through Facebook and say, I need to get rid of a lot of this clutter. I mean, I've done that to people that I've followed, and there, it's a lot of negative stuff. So just getting your Facebook, your Instagram kind of cleaned up, so that when I'd like to be able to go on Facebook and check on the people that I really connect with, but I don't want to lose them. But you can also lose people too, weed out people that are kind of bringing you down, but unfollow those people that you're like, I need to take a break or something. And then maybe you focus on some of those people. And then along those same lines too, is if there are people on your Facebook group, on your Facebook friends, that you would really like to hear more of and see more of, go into their Facebook pages and start liking and commenting. And then the Facebook crazy algorithm will start showing you those people more. And that can help, for me anyway, it can help me with social, because I can see those people, their comments and their posts more often than I would have if I just kind of read it and just glance over it and not like or comment. So, again, those lovely Facebook algorithm. But I think, but definitely, like what you said before, is, going outside of your comfort zone, outside of your home, to be able to connect face to face with people. But yeah, with, I know, as a lot of teachers, I know when I was teaching, it was like, that was my circle of friends, were my teachers, my teacher friends. But I think what's important too with that social connection is that now that summer is hitting, leave work alone. Stop talking about the classroom, start talking about the kids, start talking about your connections, as human beings, not as teachers, not as, not as moms, because I think we do that too. Like that's the initial, whether you're a teacher or mom or both, your first connection is your work, that connection, but then move away from that. So you develop more of that a different level of social connection. And
Right.
they, like you said, can be part of then they turn into being your support system.
Like a deeper relationship.
Instead of being just a work friend.
Yeah.
Right.
I think that that's really important too, even like with our partners, like, and friends and colleagues, oftentimes, for example, if I go to dinner with work friends, if we're not careful and mindful, we'll just go on a deep dive about work and all the things that we love or hate about it, but we're just spending all this time talking about work. And so something that I've tried to be more mindful of is setting a time limit. So, okay, we're going to set a timer. We've got 10 minutes, because we do need that time to decompress too. But if your partner is coming home from work and they need to decompress and you need to decompress, making sure that you're setting an allotted time for that. But then after that, shifting gears and shifting topics and shifting focus so that you can have those deeper dives of conversation or more meaningful connections, because that's much more important in the social bucket filling realm than just like hanging out with friends to gossip or to complain about work, and just being aware of is this a positive environment that I'm creating and surrounding myself in, or is it a negative, and how much of my energy and time do I want to invest in negative social groups versus more positive or uplifting ones. So just being mindful, and sometimes that is challenging, and it does take reflection and awareness to recognize the levels and the depths of conversations that you're having, and making some shifts or changes even in real life if needed. So the same as we unfollow people or groups or pages, we might need to unfollow some real friends for a little while and give ourselves space to nurture ourselves or nurture other relationships that are healthier or better for us at this stage of our lives.
Right. And it just goes back to like being aware of yourself, like that self-awareness, like, is this draining me or is this recharging me? And then doing something about it, being more intentional about how you are showing up and who's showing up with you. I got my kids sending me notes. So
it is time for our strawberry shortcake. We have given you your time.
The strawberry shortcake time.
All right. Can I take a quick photo of us? And Rachel, if you are willing to show your face for 2 seconds, that'd be great. If not, that's okay too.
Oh, here she comes.
Oh, thank you. All right. 1, 2, 3. All right. Thank you so much. I'm going to stop recording. Oh, wait, just real quick, last plug. So Onnie, we can find you at Moms Without Capes on Facebook. Yep. Do you have a website as well?
Yes, momswithoutcapes.com, or just look up Moms Without Capes on Facebook and you'll find my business page and my group. So yeah, come join my group.
All right. Awesome.
Yes,
and
join the group.
My group.
You'll find, Jenna, you need to join because the 3 of us are already there.
I'm a dog mom. Does that count?
And then you guys need to join Impactful Teachers because
yeah. For sure.